here's the truth. Last year alone, roughly 1/3 of all FHA mortgages went to borrowers with scores under 660. If perfect credit was mandatory, the housing market would grind to an absolute halt. Whether you're ready now or just starting your journey, we're here to walk with you every step of the way. Hey family, Des Losberg here, and this is The Purchase Path, the show that turns someday into move-in day. Today, we're taking a sledgehammer to the number one belief that keeps good people renting. The belief that, quote, my credit just isn't good enough to buy a home. Now, by the time we're done, you're gonna know, not hope, three main things. One, you're gonna know the exact scores lenders actually approve. Two, you're gonna know 5 moves that can lift your score in the next 30 to 90 days. And 3, how 2025's new credit reporting rules could erase half the stuff you worry about. So grab a notebook, pull up your notes app, and let's knock this wall down. Now, this is the first episode of a 3-episode series to start the Purchase Path podcast. And in those 3 episodes, we're gonna be talking about the 3 main myths that are preventing people from going out and purchasing and having them continue to rent. So let's talk about number 1. Now, most renters carry this hand-me-down story that sounds like this. If I don't have a 720 FICO score, the bank is gonna just laugh, jack up my rate, or just come back next year. I have no idea where that came from. And being in the industry for 22 years, I heard it all the time. It was probably some well-meaning relative or some unknowing loan officer or just some lender stuck in the 1990s. But here's the truth. Last year alone, roughly 1/3 of all FHA mortgages went to borrowers with scores under 660. If perfect credit was mandatory, the housing market would grind to an absolute halt. And I promise you, the banks and the lenders love making money way too much to have any of that. So let's shred that old script and let's write a better one. So let's talk about FHA financing. FHA financing is the Federal Housing Administration. And what they do is they insure mortgages that are securitized and backed by HUD. And they have a minimum FICO score of just 500. That's right. They have a 500 FICO score minimum. And in some cases, you don't even need to have a FICO score. So in different cases, it comes with different down payment requirements. But if you have a 580 FICO score and up, that is just a 3.5% down payment. And if you have a 500, 579 credit score, it's still possible. You just need to come up with 10% down. Now, if you have no credit score, you can use alternative lines of credit to establish those minimum trade lines. So in reality, you could still qualify for an FHA loan without a credit score. So let's talk about the VA loan guidelines for our veterans and our active duty listeners. The VA actually sets no official minimum score. Now, most private lenders do want a minimum of a 620, but it doesn't matter because if you go out and shop around, there's actually no minimum score. And the down payment, it's 0. Our veterans who are honorably discharged get the benefit of VA financing, and they can finance up to 100% of their purchase. And if you couple that in with a seller concession to pay for closing costs, they can essentially come to the table with no money down. So now let's talk about USDA financing. So this is a rural home area zero down loan program. And then areas that Ascension Homes build, these homes are eligible for these programs. Now, if you have a minimum 640 FICO score, which is in the fair category, the automated underwriting or USDA computer gives an instant approval. And if you're in a 600 to 639 score, you could still get approved with a manual underwrite. Now, what does manual underwrite mean? It might mean that you're not getting an automated approval with the USDA computer, but you will get a human hands and eyes on that file, and they'll be able to underwrite it and make an educated decision. And that's right, with USDA financing, it's still zero down, and you don't have to come up with anything out of pocket if you structure the purchase correctly. So let's talk about if you have no score at all. If you have a year of on-time rent, utilities, or phone payments, you can instantly build a trade line. Fannie Mae's system can read bank statements and flip a denial to an approval if it sees 12 months of straight rent deposits. So if you don't have active credit lines or trade lines that are currently building your score, you can use these alternative lines of credit to be able to instantly improve your score or get automated approval. Here's a fun fact and reality check. 46% of US adults sit below 700 and 20% sit below 620. Yet millions of mortgages close each month with these type of scores. So now let's move into the top 5 things that will improve your credit naturally. So first things first, of course, pay every single bill on time. I know it sounds pretty simple and obvious, but a lot of people don't pay their bills on time. And so the quicker you can get on a positive track on paying your bills, the quicker it is for your score to heal. Now, if you can, pay every credit card down to less than 30% of your available credit. So what does that mean? Well, if you have a $1,000 trade line or a credit card with $1,000 of available credit, pay it down to $300 or less, and your score will instantly jump. Why does it do that? Is because it shows that you're not over leveraged and you're not taking it up to the maximum available credit that you have to your name. Now, that might not be feasible for a lot of you. So what you can also do is you can go and pull a free copy of your credit report on annualcreditreport.com. And by US law, you actually get a free copy of your credit report once per year for free. And on there, review your credit report, make sure everything is accurate. And if it's not, you can actually dispute trade lines, credit history, or anything that's inaccurate on those websites with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And if they remove those negative trade lines, your score will instantly jump. It's super easy to do. You don't have to pay for it, and you don't have to pay a third-party company. These credit repair companies that do the exact same thing when you could do it for yourself for free. Now, another way you could do it is you can add through Experian's Boost program is you can actually report and submit your documentation to show that you've been making alternative trade line payments on time. They'll start reporting to your credit bureaus on a monthly basis, and it'll show that you've been paying your cell phone bill, your rent payments, whatever other utility, and you should get a score bump there as well. The next thing you can do is you can simply call one of your creditors and ask for a goodwill removal. Now, I know it doesn't sound great that you want to call and ask for a favor from your credit provider, but in reality, what they may do is they may actually remove that late payment for you just as a courtesy. Now, if you have multiple trade lines that are late or you have multiple late payments, they may not be inclined to do it, but I've seen it. It's actually happened to me personally where I can call in, I happen to miss a credit payment, and I asked them to remove it as a courtesy, and they did, and that instantly bumped your score as well. And finally, you can always ask for someone to sign off on an authorized user account. Now, this is a little bit of a hack that I've used for my own children. You can actually ask a family member or a close friend to add you as an authorized user. Now, the account you want to be added on is one that is underutilized. So if it's a $1,000 trade line, you want the balance to be below $300, that 30% rule. And you want it to have an account that has a positive trade history. And what happens when you're added as an authorized user, you get credit for that trade line. Now, it doesn't impact your score as much as your own personal trade line having a positive history and your credit utilization being low below 30%, but it does still have a positive impact, and it's instant. So those are quick and easy tips to help bump your score. Now let's talk about the rule changes in 2025. In 2025, the CFPB, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, ruled that medical bills cannot be used to deny a mortgage anymore. Any smaller balances under $500 are already gone. So if you do have some medical collections or medical debt, know that it won't count against you. And if it's under $500, it's already gone. Now we've already looked at what lenders use to qualify your loan depending on the loan type. We talked about different things that you can do to increase your score simply. And now let's talk about real world examples with loans that I personally written for some of my past clients. Now, over 22 years in the lending industry, I've seen it all. I've seen folks with 0 score all the way up to 840 FICO scores qualifying for the whole gamut of mortgages up and down the whole spectrum. Now, what I can share with you is 2 specific examples of people I helped out specifically. One of which was a gentleman who had a 486 FICO score. Yes, a 486 FICO score. And what I found out is a lot of his late payments were not accurate. And he also had a lot of collections that were old and aged out. And so what we did is we pulled his personal credit report through the annualcreditreport.com completely free. We went over his credit report, found out what was inaccurate, and we disputed all the late payments, all the accounts. Now, some of them may or may not have been accurate, but I will share with you, most of them, about 90% of them, were deleted, and he instantly got a score bump from there. Then what we did is we had him add himself to his mom's credit card account as an authorized user. Now, it was a $32,000 credit card. It had a $1,000 balance on it. And so he instantly got 8 years of credit history with his credit card account, and his credit utilization went down instantly. So after he got on his mom's account as an authorized user, his FICO score went from 486 to 672. Now, what we did after that is he went out and got a secured credit card, and he used it simply for utility bills and gas payments. And so after a 3-month payment history, it showed that he was able to go out, get a new account, have a positive trade line, and within 90 days, 120 days, he was able to qualify for a mortgage. He went from 486 of not having a chance and believing in himself and purchasing his first home to 4 months later being able to shop around, get his best rate possible, and be able to choose all his different options. The second example I want to share with you is a brand new student coming fresh out of college. Now, she had no trade lines. No one ever taught her about getting a credit card or a line of credit or some sort of installment loan to improve her score. And when she got out of college, she didn't have a score. It showed not reporting on her 3 trade lines or credit reporting agencies. And so what we did is we used alternative lines of credit. We showed that she paid rent on time through her dormitory or her off-campus housing. We also showed that she paid her own cell phone bill, and we used that. That was their 2 positive trade lines that we used. Now, we did ultimately need a little bit more income, so what we did is we got a non-occupying cosigner. Her parents were willing to sign for her mortgage. She occupied it as her primary residence. Her parents were a non-occupying cosigner. She still qualified for down payment assistance and lender credits as well as seller credits. And ultimately, she had to come up with very little out of her pocket. I think it was around 2 to 3% total that she came up with to buy her first home. And guess what? She was brand new to her job and she just graduated college. So those are 2 specific examples of people who thought they were unable to purchase, who ultimately took the steps necessary to get themselves in position to purchase with some simple steps where they went from unable to purchase to highly qualified and picking their lender within 90 days. So here's your call to action. The first thing you can go out and do if you're not sure is go out and get a copy of your free credit report. Freeannualcreditreport.com is where you go. You can get a copy of it, review it, make sure it's accurate. And if not, you already got the 5 steps that you can take to be able to bump your score immediately. Now, if none of that sounds like something you want to do, you can also email us. Email us at team, T-E-A-M, at AZCENSIONHomes.com. That's AZCENSIONHomes.com. So team at AZCENSIONHomes.com. Email us there and we'll send you a free guide on the steps you can take with everything that we spoke about in this podcast. So we look forward to hearing from you. That is myth number 1. Next week in episode 3, we're going to talk about down payments, the myth that is preventing people from going out and purchasing. Most people believe they need a down payment, and in reality, you don't. So we're going to bust that myth next week. and we look forward to seeing you then. But thank you for being with us here at the Purchase Path by Ascension Homes. My name is Des Losberg, and I'll see you on the next episode. The cost of living has pushed too many families out of the communities they love. They work hard, but still can't afford enough space. Rent keeps rising, and home ownership feels like a distant dream. That's where the Purchase Path comes in. I'm Des Losberg, founder of Ascension Homes, and I retired after 22 years in the lending industry after I kept seeing the same pattern. Good, hardworking families getting locked out, not because they didn't deserve a home, but because no one ever showed them a real way forward. This podcast exists to change that. Here you'll learn about real paths to ownership like zero down financing options, down payment grants, lease to own programs, and financing options that are actually designed for families like yours. This isn't about fluffy dreams or get rich quick advice. It's about clarity, options, strategy. So whether you're relocating, renting, or just tired of waiting, you'll get the tools and the truth to move forward one step at a time. Follow the Purchase Path now on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen, and start your journey with Ascension Homes. Your path, your purchase, your time.